Well, let me talk about the institute to begin with.
Yes.
It's not that I have not been here earlier. In fact, in my earlier organizations, I have sponsored quite a few projects, but then it's a difference as compared to joining IIT Bombay. Great institute, I should say. Fantastic, environment. You can actually feel the intellectual vibration here. Not only in the faculty, the students. One thing I must tell you is that there is no bureaucracy here. Things get done automatically. It's very smooth. In fact, the onboarding that the time that I took was hardly next to nothing as compared to my previous organization. So I think IIT Bombay provides a great opportunity, and not only for the students, for the faculty, but also for the staff working here. I think I'm very impressed by the people here. Yes. Well, I have been with the oil industry for 42 years. When I mean 40, oil industry means it's the downstream hydrocarbon industry. Okay, and when I started my career, basically there were hardly any computers. Okay, so over a period of time, I have actually, developed technologies which were supposed to be core technology, more or less import substitution. And then later on, I got interest into converting waste to wealth. For a growing economy like our country, it's extremely important that we do remember that the more you become commercial, the higher the standards of living, the more will be the waste created. So there has to be the concept of three R's, that is reuse, recycle, and there's a third R, which is basically to be able to reuse whatever you can, or to change it into a highly valuable product. So that has been my area of research. In fact, I have been very successful in developing a technology to convert waste plastic to diesel, which you can use in a vehicle. To be able to convert vegetable oil to a jet fuel, which can fly an aircraft. Value addition in a refining and petrochemical industry, there are many streams which they collect and use it as a fuel. But there is opportunity to actually create a much higher value addition. In fact, we have actually developed a technology and commercialized it in Mumbai in one of the refineries here to convert fuel oil to propylene, for example. So this is my passion, in fact. But other than that, of course, I specialize in solvent extraction. So we have actually developed 25 technologies. In fact, India is today, between Indian Institute of Petroleum and EIL, the epicenter in terms of the research and knowledge that we have in this area. I don't think anybody can beat us in that. So that I have actually helped to develop, as well as implementation of advanced control in refineries, simulation and modeling. But above all of that is actually my drive to do something which can help the environment, to develop low carbon emitting technologies. Well, actually, I must say that it has been a long time ago that I have taught. In fact, I was a senior tutor at the Department of Chemical Engineering, University of Melbourne, while I was doing my PhD. Okay, and I took a course on application of numerical methods in chemical engineering, and also took lab courses. I also helped some of the faculty to do to help them in the coursework, right? I think as far as I'll take the faculty side first. Okay, as far as the faculty is concerned, they don't take the students for granted. Let me tell you this one. I think they do understand that these people are here to learn, to gain knowledge, and that they are here to actually do that. Okay, so they keep on inventing and innovating in terms of how they teach. All right, I'll give an example later on of that. As far as the students are concerned, believe me, they are not there by choice. I mean, they are there by choice. They are not there by, just because there was some compulsion or peer, or parents or something. Okay, they had choice. See, in a Western world, the student, just after he goes through the minimum education system that they have, There are many opportunities which can earn them more money as compared to an engineer. Okay, a bricklayer, for example, can earn something like $100 an hour. Okay, so it's not something that they are there just because there is a kind of a peer, recognition or some kind of a social status or something like that. There is nothing like there is complete dignity of labor there. Okay, so even if you're driving if you're a taxi driver, you actually demand respect or you earn that respect. There's no problem with that. So, so the students are there to learn, to gain knowledge. And when I was teaching there, you have to actually understand that those students are not there just to get marks, they're there to learn. All right, and so it's a fun actually teaching them because they'll keep on asking you questions and becomes very participative. To give you an example, I was telling you about something that I think we should try to do here. And this was done, 35 to 36 years ago. You know how they teach process design? I was amazed, all right. The first, and I was actually tutoring that. Professor David Wood was the professor. So what I was going to say is that he started off the first lecture with a four-line statement, which was very vague.
Yes.
And from there onwards, for the next 15 lectures or sessions, I must say, from 2 to 5, like 3 hours, the students developed that four-line statement into a complete design package. Okay, so and it was left to the students to try to decode what those four-line statements mean. I didn't realize what exactly it was till I actually came back, and then I found that the clients also, when they ask you to help them, it's something as vague as that, like a four or five liner statement. So I think it is something that is pretty unique, and I don't see it happening here or anywhere in any other universities in the country. So this is something that we should do. Well, I don't think the number of MTech students are reducing. I think it might be perhaps in IIT Bombay or certain places. The reason, of course, is for the last 5 6 years, the public sector is taking to the recruiting through GATE. So that is something that we can't forget. Okay, earlier they were not recruiting through GATE; they had their own written test and interview. Today, actually, GATE is being considered as one of the screening criteria. And so, if suppose IIT Bombay, IISc Bangalore, IIT Kanpur, they select the toppers of GATE, obviously those same students are selected in Indian Oil, BPCL, HPCL, plus the public sector too. And given the job situation as it is, if suppose you get a job right now after doing your bachelor's, after doing masters, you might still hunt around for a job. Okay? So nothing wrong with that. Actually, after all, they are going to go and serve the industry. So the country doesn't lose in any way. But of course, I do understand that there is a growing shortage. But I think what is happening is that it is good in a way because let the toppers go, okay? But some of these, say, two-tier, three-tier, and four-tier universities, what I mean by two-tier, like people from NIT, for example, students from NIT, students from other colleges like, the third tier, like VIT, RV College of Engineering, Shastra University, so on and so forth. Those students now get an opportunity to at least do an MTech here and get to know and to learn and to get that experience about an IIT. So there's nothing wrong with that. The toppers are actually serving the industry, so then the country doesn't lose anything. Okay. I think it's a win-win situation not only for the students but also for IITs because IITs can now help some of those, I won't say weak, but some of those students coming from second tier and third tier universities to gain that IIT experience and knowledge. I got very heavily benefited by that. Well, actually, if you ask me, maybe I'm biased, but the most noble profession in any engineering is chemical engineering. I might be biased, but I'll give you facts. I think if you look at some of the turning points in the history of civilization, most of those have been enabled by chemical engineers. Okay? For example, the very fact that we have so many vehicles on the road has actually happened because chemical engineers invented catalytic reforming as a technology by which you could produce gasoline. Similarly, diesel. Okay, we discovered that LPG can be used in cooking at homes. We invented jet fuel, which could actually fly planes. Anything that you touch, feel, see, or smell is a chemical. Please understand that. Anything that you can touch, feel, see, or smell, and all those chemicals are made by chemical engineers. Okay, I'm not actually belittling the role of other engineers because a chemical engineer by himself cannot construct a plant. But the chemical engineering knowledge is not something which is taught to other engineering discipline. As chemical engineers, we learn a little bit of civil engineering, we learn electrical engineering, we learn material science, we learn strength of materials, we learn physics, chemistry, all of that. But let's say, I think you're in second year right now.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe when you take a course on mass transfer, for example, and you study distillation or chemical reaction engineering, I want to know how many civil, mechanical, electrical engineers learn those subjects. Okay, so you can't actually. It's very important to realize that any change that happens, even a simple thing like a plastic bottle, which has revolutionized the way we drink water today, is an invention and creation of a chemical engineer. Even the water that you drink, the safety of the drinking water is a contribution of a chemical engineer. Um I can go on and on. In fact, I'll just stop by saying that half of the population would not have actually been fed today if we as chemical engineers would not have invented Haber process to make ammonia, okay? And from there urea and fertilizers. So I think it's very important that we have to understand and feel proud of being a chemical engineer. What was your other question again?
What if we compare India on a global scale? Where do you think it stands?
Um, well, as far as manufacturing is concerned, let me talk about my own sector, the oil industry. We are second to none. As far as the technology is concerned, as far as the knowledge is concerned, the expertise is concerned, as I said, the oil industry is the third largest in the world.
Yes.
Indian oil industry. But the same thing cannot be said about other industries linked with chemical engineering. For example, chemical industry. I'm not talking about bulk chemicals, okay? Even petrochemical industry. Then you talk about paint and varnishes, dye and dye stuff, pharma, sugar, pulp and paper. I think we still need to go a long, long way to make them of international standards. So we, as far as India is concerned, we are perhaps world class as far as the fuel sector is concerned. But I think we have yet to do a lot of catching on in terms of the other sectors. In fact, China is far ahead of us in some of those sectors. I mean, we are still using some very old technologies. But one of the aspect which is very, very close to my heart, and I must mention that, is that we still don't have many indigenous technologies. Okay, we might be the third largest in the world, we might be the best, but we are still importing those technologies in our oil industry. There's hardly any indigenous technology that we use.
Yes.
So one thing that is very much required if India has to become a superpower. In other words, if suppose we want to beat the West and we think that we will be the superpower 2050, today money doesn't make you superpower. It is the technology. If money would have made you superpower, then Saudi Arabia would have been the superpower of the world because the kind of money they have. Even with $55 per barrel, they still have a lot of money. Okay. But why US is superpower? Because they have technology. So unless and until we have our own technology
Yes.
and stop actually importing technologies, unless and until we start actually having our own and then export those technologies, we can never be a superpower.
Yes.
And chemical engineers have a very important role there. No, I just what I was trying to say is that if we have to be a superpower, we need to actually have our own technologies. I mean, whatever it may be, even beyond the chemical sector, like in mechanical, civil, electrical.
Yes.
Why can't we build our own planes, for example? Why can't we make our own bullet trains? Why do we have to import technology from Japan? I mean, one question I keep on asking, and I still don't get an answer, is that with so many IITs that we have today, with so many NITs, with so much of educational infrastructure that we have, I think it's very shameful that we still import technologies, and this has been one very single fight that I have been fighting over the last 15 years. That convincing the industry that look, we are second to none, so why don't we use our own technology? And unless that encouragement is given by the industry, it's actually a catch 22. Because unless the encouragement is there from the industry, you don't feel encouraged to actually develop something. And if suppose they encourage you, they use that, then you feel more encouraged to develop something new. Okay.
Yes.
I think it's very very important that we should have our own technology feed for the and our industry should prefer that rather than importing it. No, I don't think we lack anything. I think people who go abroad perhaps feel that there could be something better than what we have in India. This is a very classic example that the other side of the river always looks green. Okay. And that comes from the fact that what we see on the TV or stuff like that is always a glamour that is shown. Okay. Similarly, when you visit abroad, you go as a visitor, so you get impressed with many things.
Yes.
But the moment you actually go there to live,
Yes.
and I have been through that 3 times in my life, so I don't see there's any difference there between where you live. Because again, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you go to the office, and it becomes a routine. Number one. Number two, the entire epicenter for growth is India and China. Even when you go abroad, like I have very strong connections with Australia. During summer, I went there and spent about a month at the University of Melbourne. They keep on talking about what are the projects we can do with India. Okay, I keep on telling them what is it that we can do here. He said, well, we are waiting for this AISR grant and etc. etc. Let me tell you, there is no heaven on earth. Please understand the gravity of this statement. There is no heaven on earth. Okay, so it all depends upon how you actually perceive. And people have made big even in our own country. I mean, people have actually come back. I mean, I have come back. I mean, after my PhD, since I was senior tutor, I was offered lecturership there at University of Melbourne. And perhaps today I could have become dean or maybe vice chancellor or something. We don't. I don't know. I opted to come back. Then '98, I had another option to join Honeywell in UK. Um, and then somebody said that, look, do you need money to go abroad? People think that, when you go abroad, you can make more money. That's actually a misnomer because I have actually gone through this mathematics several times. When you go abroad to settle down, you actually don't earn much money because then you have to buy a house, then you mortgage it, then you pay for the EMI, etc. Once you get settled down, you have your children, and then you need to send them for education. Education is expensive there. So at the end of the day, what I found was that I was actually saving more money working in India as compared to what I would have saved if I would have been working for Honeywell in Southampton. Even if you convert pounds to rupees, okay. But this is our own country, okay. I mean, I think it's very important that we remember that, because abroad you can go to a certain level, but beyond that level, just because you don't belong to that country, it's impossible. And that's where actually it starts pinching you, that even if you might be the brightest of the brightest,
Yes.
but just because you don't come from that own country, you're not given those opportunities.
Yes.
The only few who actually get onto those levels, okay. But I think it's very important. I think the motherland needs people, bright, young minds, and if we keep on losing them for no reason. If you ask me, we just don't. If you look at the education system in the U.S., okay, it looks great from here. But I had my son actually at Arizona State University, and the kind of thing they used to tell me, I mean, it's all commercial. It's very commercial. You don't see that kind of a commercial attitude here in IIT. That's completely commercial. So $40,000 they charge for tuition, and the teacher doesn't even come to the class. They said, "I got my video recording. You can see it from home." I mean, what the hell are we talking about? Why did we get? We could have seen it sitting from India as well. Okay. So I think it's very important to realize that we are kind of chasing wild goose if you are going abroad. I think there's plenty of things to do here itself. The world is looking at us. I mean, if you look at some of the companies like Reliance, etc., you have expats working for them here. They're leaving their jobs and coming and working here in India. So why are we going abroad? I don't understand that. Well, I had the opportunity to interact with the final year students here, because I joined in January. I taught a course, and now I'm actually teaching CL433, the course on the practical course, the experiments. I think what I'm finding, but and don't mind what I'm trying to say here, is that the students are really actually only keen to get grades, which to my mind is something not so important. Okay. I have a different, suggestion to the students. I think if you try to learn what is being taught, you will get grades automatically, because you know the subject. So any questions can thrown at you, you won't have any problem. But if you actually only study to get grades,
Yes.
you won't learn. So you miss out on the other side. And so many times I've asked questions, even in that practical course, about what they have been taught in theory, and they won't seem to remember. Not only that, they don't seem to actually apply, have the capacity to apply. So my only suggestion to students is that, look, it has been a huge struggle for the students to pass through IIT JEE to be able to get admission into IIT Bombay. It's a big struggle. But that is not the end, it's the beginning. Please understand that. I think I do understand that a lot of students burn out because of the rigor of that exam. It's very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate that we have made it so competitive, and to some extent a kind of a social status to that. But it's very important to realize that when you reach my stage, that is plus 60, and you reflect back as to what you have done, I don't think you'll remember that you had done IIT JEE and that you did BTech from IIT Bombay. I don't recall. I don't actually feel proud of that I was a topper in LIT and I was a 10-pointer in IITK and all. Look, I think it's more important that what have you done in the last 40 years. Okay. I have a very general formula to explain that. See, whatever organization you work, if that organization minus you is still the same organization, I hope you understand what I mean to say.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say you work in an organization called X,
Yes.
and you work there for 10 years
Yes.
or 15 years.
Yes.
So that organization minus you,
Yes.
if it is still the same organization, then what have you done? Okay. So I think my only advice to the youngsters coming out of the college here, coming out of the final year, is that please actually, number one, join the core industry. The nation needs you, and it's very important that we have the brightest of the brightest minds actually developing technologies doing research here, creating next generation Nobel laureates. Why do you think we have never created Nobel laureates here? That is because all of our bright minds are going abroad. Harbin Khurana gets a Nobel Prize in US, working in MIT. Why not here? Okay. Chandra, who worked at what you call UK. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of Indians go abroad and get Nobel Prize. They can easily do it here, like C.V. Raman. I think it's very important that the IIT graduates coming out of here, they should be proud that they are an IITian. And more important than that is we should be proud to be an Indian.
Yes.
That statement appears naive, but think about it. As an Indian, we are generally not proud to be an Indian. You talk to an Australian, you talk to an American, you talk to a Chinese, you see how they are proud of their own country. I think that is something we need to remember, to bring in. And if suppose each one of us are proud to be an Indian, I don't think anybody can actually pull us down. Okay, I mean, what happened with that Doklam issue with China? You can see that. I mean, we have a strength. And we have a great strength. I mean, remember, we were the biggest economy in the country, in the world. 39% GDP was because of India, not very far ago, only 500 years ago. Tell me one country in the world where so many invaders came looking for opportunity here. So many people came looking for opportunity with the British finally, and not only the British, the French also came, the Portuguese also came. Name which one country where actually all these people went. Okay, so there must be something in this country, right? And it is still there. I think it is very I think unfortunate for this country to be actually ruled by foreign countries for the last 400 years, and that has changed our DNA. I think we need to bring back that DNA, and the only way we can do it is that the youngsters, particularly from IITs, can make that change.
Yes.
Okay, so we should be proud to be an Indian to begin with, and then everything else will follow.